So the stigma around mental health, I think I'm growing up in this age and generation where we are all acknowledging it. We have grown up in this era of we've seen what happens when we don't acknowledge it, and we know the consequences of that. I think a lot of student athletes know and understand that it's okay to not be okay.
A lot of times stigmas exist, out of fear or out of the unknown. And so I think that there's been more of a focus on education, and there's also been more of a focus on people letting other people know that they have struggles and they have challenges in their family and in their lives. And when other people hear that, I think it makes people feel more part of an inclusive environment, and there's less of a stigma around some of the mental or emotional challenges that people may be dealing with.
Recently, especially this past year, I've seen our SAC be able to kind of not destroy that stigma, but to make it easier for athletes to come out and utilize the resources that are on campus and off campus. And just being more open about it has made it a lot easier for athletes to come forward and take care of themselves.
Dr. Vigon, welcome to A-10 Conversations here in our new A-10 studios. Happy that you're here with us. I know things are really extremely busy over at George Mason University, but appreciate your time.
Of course.
I want to jump right into it. Mental health and mental wellness is so important, not only to all of us in our adult professions, but to our student athletes on campus. Share with us a little bit about what's happening on the ground on campus.
Absolutely. Well, first off, I just want to say it's an honor to be here, so thank you for having me. But mental health, as you said, is such an important topic. We are at the forefront of, unfortunately, a mental health crisis coming out of the pandemic, right? But the numbers, at least the acuity, is getting better since the pandemic. But what we're seeing is tremendous amounts of anxiety, of depression, of non-suicidal self-injury. We're seeing all kinds of self-criticism showing up as a result of being a student athlete and the pressures that some of the student athletes face to manage competing at an elite level, athletically, of course, performing in the classroom, and managing, all elements of one's life, academic, social, romantic, family, et cetera, and of course, your sport.
Absolutely. There's so much going on. And you mentioned the student athletes. We have two of our student athletes with us. So I'd like to introduce CC Williams, who's here, a student athlete, track student athlete from Dayton University, and also Madison. Madison is with us. There she is, giving everyone a wave. Madison Deckart, a swimming student athlete from Duquesne. So both of you, certainly thank you for joining us remotely. You're on your campuses, obviously finishing up the rest of the academic year here. I'd like to kind of hear a little bit about what you're facing on campus and how you and your teammates are dealing with taking care of yourself in the area of mental wellness. And I think I'll throw it to Cece first, and then Madison, you can kind of join in as well. So Cece?
Hi, great to be here. Thank you for having me. Just to start off, I guess at my school, a lot of the challenges we kind of face is just trying to figure out how to, talk to our coaches about the things that we're dealing with. And luckily for us, we do have some resources we have co-pilots, which is essentially just a mental health peer-to-peer educator. So it's easy for student athletes to reach out. Maybe they don't feel comfortable talking to an adult, but someone else, a student athlete or another student on our campus that maybe knows what we're going through a little bit better. So those are some things that we kind of are able to do. That, and then also we have team bonding events that help us with de-stressing. We go out and we go to movies or we go have a game night. So there's a lot of times when we're able to kind of connect as a team to de-stress with all the difficulties we have in our sport and also balancing that school life and our extracurricular activities.
So important. Madison, how about you on campus?
Again, thank you so much for having me. I'm very pleased to be here. But the things that happen at Duquesne, I would say is more relevant in the conversation starters. How do you start a conversation with your coach? How do you start the conversation with the athletic trainers? What are the resources available to you? And that is a huge, huge conversation for us here at Duquesne. And especially as we highlight mental health this week, it's our main priority to teach these athletes and teach these student athletes very specifically what resources are available to them here on campus and how they help them in the long term.
So obviously, Dr. Vigon, you're a professional. How can student athletes start the conversation? That seems to be such a hurdle.
Absolutely. It's such an important topic that we're bringing up. I think we got to be destigmatizing mental health as often as possible, breaking down the stigma. I think it starts with coach training as well, having conversations with our coaches about normalizing mental health symptoms, just like we would be normalizing physical health symptoms and seeking treatment for those symptoms. So I think breaking down, trying to have a human-to-human conversation with coaches and in trying to encourage athletes to increase their communication with coaches. Of course, you have to feel safe to do that, right? So I think that's an important point that both Madison and Cece brought up, as well as the peer educators, the social bonding experiences, amazing, right? But also knowing what resources are there, right? So being part of the Atlantic 10 and the NCAA, we are it's required to have a licensed mental health provider accessible. That's going to look a little bit different for every school, but that person is there, right? So we got to figure out who they are, how to contact them, and how to get in touch. So getting that started. Your athletic trainer might be able to get that started for you, a support staff member, a teammate, but also, you know, student athletes have to feel safe sharing this information. And I also want to highlight too, sharing information with a mental health provider is confidential. There are some limits to confidentiality, but it is indeed confidential.
Madison, on campus, do most of your teammates and your other friends in other sports, are they aware of the resources that are available, or do you think we need to do a better job of communicating what's there to help?
I think it's kind of a toss-up depending on who you're talking to. I know that my team specifically is very well educated in what's available to them and what resources they can talk to and how to start those conversations with at least their athletic trainer. But it's also difficult as like I'm friends with a lot of male teams, and it's a lot harder for them to have that conversation with themselves, with their friends, with their team. Like that conversation for male athletes is a lot harder. So I think in general, it depends on who you're talking to. I don't think it's the worst idea to do better with bringing to light the resources that are available.
Cece, what advice would you give to the rookies, the student athletes coming in for the first time, whether they're a freshman, a true freshman, or whether it's a student athlete that's transferred into the institution? What kind of advice would you give them in terms of, you know, taking care of themselves, not only physically in their sport, but mentally?
I would tell them that to find things that make them happy other than their sport. I know that a lot of student athletes coming in, all they know is their sport. Like some of them don't even do like extracurriculars or have never done extracurriculars outside of their sport, even in high school. My advice would be for them to find something else that makes them happy. So that they're not so stressed out about their sport, or so that their sport isn't taking such a toll on their mental health.
I want to jump in after and piggyback on Cece's comment. Fantastic comment, and I totally agree with you. I think, you know, the whole healthy person is the best performer. So if we can develop some of these additional identity factors in addition to this elite athletic identity, I think that would be so helpful for self-esteem, for well-being, for resiliency, for all the different ways that we can thrive when things don't go well. It's really nice when they go well, right? We're preparing for them to go well, but in life sometimes things do not go well. So we have to be able to be flexible enough to respond, you know, and have some protective factors in place when it's not going well.
So to piggyback on that, way back in the day when I was finishing my master's degree, I did my thesis on the Total Person program, which then actually was transformed into the NCAA Champs Life Skill program.
Beautiful.
So hearing what you're saying, and I would like to, I guess, hear from all three of you, like, are student athletes, is it corny to talk about the total person? Is it corny to talk about the value of what was established and has been established in the Champs Life Skill program?
I'm going to defer to y'all who are the contemporary folks right now.
Madison, you can go first, and then Cece.
Sounds good. I don't personally think it's corny at all. I think it's, especially as I'm facing retirement right now, that part of my life is over. And I think, yes, I'm very passionate about athletics, and eventually, yes, athletics is what I want to be a part of long term. However, the athletic identity versus who you actually are and what you're passionate about and what makes you happy is very, very different. And I think at the end of the day, you have to remember, like, hey, I'm a daughter, I'm a sister, I'm a brother, I'm a son, I am somebody's friend, I am somebody who is a leader. Like, all of those different things are such a important part of your identity, which you may have learned from athletics, but ultimately they are completely different and can be harnessed in a different way. And I don't think that's corny to address that at all. And I think that needs to be better emphasized, especially as athletes are facing either medical retirement, eligibility retirement, like all of those different things. I think it's very important to talk about your identity.
Great. I'm
Well said.
glad to hear that.
Yeah.
Cece, how about you?
That's a tough act to follow. I would agree with that. Your entire everything that you're about, it can't just be a part of athletic. It can't just be athletics. Like I'm same with you. Like I'm pretty much done. I graduate after this year. I'm not doing track anymore. And you're right. I'm at a point where it's like, all right, you're not a track and field athlete anymore. So what else? You know. So yeah, I definitely agree with it
Great.
not being corny, not a corny topic to talk about. I think if anything, it should be talked about more and not be such a, nah, you're an athlete. Like this is what you do. Yeah.
Great. Well, I had to clarify for our listeners and our viewers that your use of the word retire is from your sport only, because certainly you all have the world before you, and you've had fabulous careers in both Madison and in your swimming, and certainly CC in your fabulous track career. So we thank you for everything that you are contributing to your teammates and to your institutions and to the A-10. And I'm going to toss it basically to Dr. Vigon, to you, to wrap it up for us and give us some good words to walk by.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you, Commissioner. Well, first and foremost, it's okay to not be okay. You know, it's really important that we reach out for help if you're needing it. I'm thinking even last night we had an event for our BIPOC student athletes specific to suicide prevention. So mental health is very real. If you see something, say something. If you can connect a friend or colleague or a person that's needing some support to mental health resources, that would be incredible. I would say too, with the summer coming up, this is a great time to go back to the drawing board, to heal, to recover, to get really motivated as to why you do this thing, why you're so invested in your sport. And again, I know we've been talking about a lot of the different multidimensional identity factors, but this is a really important one. And so it's really important that you get really invested in why you are so motivated to do this really well this year and hopefully win an Atlantic 10 championship and then some. But that being said, please take care of yourself. Sleep, food, relationships, all of the things that are going to make your athletic experience a little bit more flexible and be achieved at a higher level, I would recommend checking into this summer, and you're more than an athlete.